Good evening. This is the time of the day where most ministers, the day has ended, the crowds are gone. All of the people who have said thank you, all of the people who avoided you, whatever weight that you were carrying when you entered in on this Sunday morning, and this Sunday of worship is now ended. And most ministers around this time are contemplating of what they have said, what they have done, and whether or not it has been beneficial. For most people who don't realize, this part of the day is probably the heaviest part of the day for most ministers, because they are wondering, are contemplating of whether or not their ministry is effective, or whether or not what they're doing is making an impact. There are ministers right now, you're contemplating quitting. You've looked at your worship service, you looked at the people today, and most ministers, they gauge their effectiveness by this day of whether or not, should I keep doing this? There are some ministers right now, you're on the verge of quitting. You are tired. For some reason, it may not seem like it's working. There are some ministers, as you are contemplating the day, the ministry is doing wonderful, but you're not doing good. You're suffering. You're going down, and nobody in your congregation realizes that you are not really in a healthy place. There are some ministers around this time, they're saying, I can't keep doing this. I have to do something different because the ministry they're in is choking them. This is a very difficult time. Sunday evenings are the time where most ministers are trying to figure out, should I keep going in the direction that we're going, or do I need to make a change? Most people are unaware because they leave the building, they get in their car, and they're going about their life. And for most ministers, they're one of the last ones to leave. And they're going back and forth of whether or not what they should or should not do. Some ministers, they are struggling, or whether or not there are some where the families don't support them. The wives are tired. It's very hard to be married to a minister when the church beats up the minister and the wife has to come in and week out and feel happy and supportive about a congregation that may not be supportive to her husband. The day is over. This is Sunday evening. And this is the most crucial time for most ministers. And maybe for the rest of the day, you're going to have no one else to reach out to you. So I want to say to you this evening, don't quit. You can be tired. You can even be heavy. But don't quit. God has called you into the ministry to share the gospel. And there are days that you are going to get beat up. There are days where you're going to have to suffer. There are days to where you just feel like, why? I'm not talking about the minister that today, man, you packed it out. Man, today you really just blessed the people. I'm not talking about the ministers or the congregations where worship was phenomenal and people ascended to the third heaven. I'm talking about the minister who is by himself and nobody knows it. To the minister who's weary and tired and nobody seems to care. To the minister who feels like nobody will miss him if he stopped. I'm telling you to keep going. I'm telling you, you can't quit. It is supposed to be hard. Ministry is supposed to be difficult. We are on the battle line of the devil, and we fight with that beast on a daily and hourly basis. God needs soldiers, and God needs you to keep fighting. Now, it's no excuse for a minister not to grow, not to challenge, not to stand. You're going to get bruises. Wolves will come. You will get betrayed. People will stab. Matter of fact, there are some ministers right now, the church is meeting on you right now. The brothers are meeting on you right now to get rid of you. I need you to keep preaching anyway. I need you to stand tall anyway. I need you to keep fighting anyway, because at the end of the day, I got to stand before God. You got to stand before God. And if God has called you into the ministry, only let God bring you out. Don't let people's opinions, don't let people's feelings, don't let people's thoughts keep you away from doing what God has called you to do. If you made mistakes, if you wish you could be better, maybe you feel like you don't have certain gifts or certain talents, but if God has called you into the ministry, then only let God bring you out. On this Sunday evening, I want you to know you're not alone. I want you to know you're in a fraternity full of ministers and evangelists who are striving to do the same things. And sometimes what's deceptive is that most ministers who look like they're doing great, they're struggling too privately. If you're a minister, you know what I'm talking about. So this is to you. Be encouraged, be strengthened, stay faithful in the Lord. And regardless of what you do, if you fall 7 times, a righteous man, he gets up 8. God be blessed.